Welcome back to the Be Unexpected podcast with Jake Burnside and Wyatt Spalding. Today we're joined by former NFL player for the Philadelphia Eagles, Vince Papale. Vince, how's it going?
Great, Wyatt. Thanks. Great to be here with you from Philly, the city of brotherly love.
Well, Vince, we really enjoy having you on, and thanks for coming. And
you're welcome,
Jake
Wyatt.
and I know
and
you
Jake,
from we know you from your movie Invincible, and we've just been big fans ever since. Maybe tell us how it was like for you growing up in Philadelphia as an Eagles fan.
Well, I'm sort of, if you don't believe everything you read in Wikipedia, I'm not Philadelphia born and bred. I'm in a little county or a little town right south of Philadelphia, only a couple miles off the border, Glen Olden. But everybody considered that, and we're all big Eagles fans. And I can remember my mom used to, back in the day, she would actually structure her Sundays so that we could watch the Eagles game, because back then you didn't have cable. You had the airways, and you only had a couple, 3, 4 networks. And then they thought it was a big deal when they brought in the networks that were in the teens, and the VHF and the UHF. And anyway, everybody in our neighborhood was an Eagles fan, and at 1:00 every Sunday there was a football game. And if the game wasn't a sellout, and in the hometown, they wouldn't show the game. And so then I learned how to listen to the game on radio, and we had this great announcer, iconic guy by the name of Bill Campbell. And and I just was an Eagles fan, and that's so I said, hey, maybe someday I'll be a Philadelphia Eagle, just sort of a whimsical dream. And here we go in 1976. Dick Vermeil trots into town from UCLA and has a free agent tryout, which really did happen, like in the movie. And as they say, the rest is history. I actually signed a contract right after that tryout, a $21,000 a year contract. It was pretty cool.
Wow. Like, when you first heard they were having like open tryouts, did you think does any other NFL team, have they ever done that before?
Actually, you're probably the first guys ever asked that question, because it's not unique, but there might have been others that had done it, but the one that was, I guess, most well known was one that George Allen had back in 1972, maybe 1973. And they were able to pull out a guy that was a running back. He played college football. I didn't play college football. I was a track guy. So his name was Herb Mulkey. He was a running back, but he was a terror, a bomber on special teams, and he was that multi-purpose back. And then basically, so Dick Vermeil and his idol was George Allen, and George Allen used to coach the Rams, and Dick Vermeil was the first special teams coach ever, just as a special teams coach, to coach in the NFL. And so then when he got to Philadelphia, when Coach Vermeil came to Philadelphia, hey, what the hell, he said, George Allen found that guy, maybe we'll find our guy. And lucky enough, that's why I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
So, and then the movie came out in '06.
So how's that, how did the process work
Awesome.
when you went to tryouts? So did you hear about the tryouts and you're just like, hey, I'm going tomorrow? And then when did they tell you that you made it, or how does that even work?
Well, I had heard about the tryout. It's a little sketchy back then. See, here's what happened. I went after I graduated from college in '76. I thought Vietnam was going to be hot and heavy. I mean, it's not '76, '68. So Vietnam was pretty hot and heavy, and I actually was going to enlist in the Marines or the Air Force. And right before I did, my high school, my alma mater in suburban Philadelphia, right by the Philly airport, gave me a call, and they said, "Hey, we have a business opening there. We need a business teacher. Do you have any education credits?" And I said, "No." They said, "Well, if you can get the education credits, you got a job." And I said, "Wow, that'd be pretty cool." So, back then, if you were a school teacher, you were deferred from the draft, and I wasn't doing that to get out of it because I was ready to enlist. but I wanted to go into the service that I had chosen, either the Marines or the Air Force, which were the two that I liked the most. Well, as it turned out, so I go to the athletic director. I really didn't have a hell of a lot of money. I'm just coming out of college. And I go to the AD and I told him what the situation was. So he just says, "Hey, listen, I'll pick it up for you. You can just go. What's one more body in these courses?" So I took 4 classes during the summer, and that guy, that AD, is the NBA Hall of Famer Jack Ramsey, Doctor Jack Ramsey,
Wow.
used to be with the Portland, with Portland, and so Jack is the one that Dr. Ramsey gave me 4 courses, and I aced it, and I wound up coaching in my alma mater
Hmm.
for 6 years. Became the head track coach. The guy was my track coach and my high school football coach for 1 year. When I came in, he says, "Man, I want to get out of this track." He said, "I just want to coach football." So we went, and I became the track coach, and then of course, I coached with them. Started working my master's degree, but I was tinkering with the Olympic decathlon, and because I was pretty good in all events and track, and that was my goal and my dream. I figured I'd never get a shot in the NFL. I didn't play college football. So to make a long story short, it didn't happen for whatever reason. And I started playing semi-pro football in addition to those touch like you saw in the movie. That was all true. And but I didn't play in that rain game prior to us playing the Giants. That'd be pretty stupid
Yeah.
and very selfish. But I didn't do that. But and I wound up doing pretty good in that. So a new league was just folding. I mean, just forming. It was called the World Football League, and it's the one where Larry Zonka. This was back in '74, and Larry Zonka, Jim Kick, Paul Warfield, they all came and they went to Memphis and they paid for the Memphis Showboats. And that's ironically where my son just got done playing in the USFL. I just came in from Memphis. And so a new league was formed, and the World Football League, and there was a free agent tryout for that right in my neighborhood. So there were about 600 or 800 guys for that one, and when you know it, and 60 or 70 wide receivers, and I popped the fastest 40, and so there were 3 or 4 or 5 more tryouts, and I wound up not only getting through and surviving them. I got just right over here in my desk here. I just found my old World Football League contract that I signed for $16,000. And I played in the World League for about a year and 4 games, and then the league folded. So I was substitute teaching bartending because I had an opportunity to go back and teach at the now this is happening in April, and I have an opportunity to go back and teach, and I'll go back to my school and get my job back and all that stuff. So I had to do something, and that's when I found out about the free agent tryout, and I was in absolutely phenomenal condition. The World Football League had just folded. I was a decathlete. I never really got myself out of shape. And when they had that tryout, I just came in. I was a season ticket holder for 10 years. And I got put on the list because of my work with the World Football League. A list that Coach Vermeil never saw. The general manager saw the list, but I just walked in there and popped the fastest 40 on the turf at 4.5, and Coach put a few more, just like the movie, and actually similar to the way it happened in the tryout. It happened in the movie. They did a great job of resurrecting that and depicting that. And so here, it's over with. And I figured, well, this is it. I'm done. And I was changing in the Eagles locker room, and I'm total awe because I'm seeing all these lockers of my idols. Guys that I cheered for. I loved when I was with the Eagles. And I get a tap in the shoulder from the athletic trainer, and he says they want to see you in the main office. So I go up the elevator, and they say, "Oh yes, Mr. Murray would like to talk to you." And that was Jim Murray, the general manager. And as I'm going, I go past Coach Vermeil's office, and he shouted out to me. And he knew my name, and he called me Vinny. Hey, Vinny, that was a great workout. You popped a 4.5 there. He said it was pretty good. He said, "Good luck to you," and that was it. A nice smile. And I walk in, and within 5 minutes later, I became the property of the Philadelphia Eagles. And I had my 2 season tickets, and I was allowed to keep them. They gave me those 2 season tickets. So, but then here's what happened. It was April, and the training camp's now going to be. Coach Vermeil gets the job. The training camp is going to be in right around 4th of July. And ironically, it's whatever that was in 1976. So put the years back to that. So so I was able to go to Veteran Stadium every day and train. And I started working with the guy who was working with some really great athletes like Roman Gabriel, Mike Schmidt, Steve Carlton. And he took me under his wing. And then I started throwing every day with Roman Gabriel, and he taught me a whole bunch of stuff. So when I went to training camp that year in '76, I was in prime condition, and I was ready to go. And I had a guy that was my advocate, and that was an all-pro quarterback for the Rams that the Eagles had, and that was Roman Gabriel. So when we got to camp, we had a great connection, and he just kept throwing to me. And Coach liked what he saw, and as they say, the rest is history, and I wound up making the team. And the thing is, in the movie, back then we had six preseason games. In the movie, they made it look like that things were diminishing, that I was in trouble of getting cut. In reality, I actually wound up leading the team in receptions and also in touchdown catches. So I've been pretty pissed off if I didn't make that team at that time. But, I still had to endear myself to my teammates. That was all a bunch of bull. They could care less, especially the guys that were the vets. And the second game against the Giants, I made the big play. I had three solo hits. And there it was. And I got invited to my first team party, and that's when I was accepted by the team.
So you say, like, you had to, connect with your teammates. In the movie, they have a couple scenes where some guys think you won't make the team because you're 30 years old. Was there quite a few guys in the locker room that didn't think you'd make the team, or was kind of shocked you were there? Everyone, they were just like, oh, he'll get cut in like a day and just won't stick around.
Yeah, well, that's what they thought. That's exactly why they thought that was going to be the case, and they'd get rid of me. The problem is they couldn't get rid of me. I was just like that mosquito. I was that fly that wouldn't get out of the car. And, they're opening the windows and the doors. They're trying to get rid of it, and I wouldn't go away. And some of them thought that I was there because I was going to try to do a press thing. I was trying to do an inside kind of thing. Maybe I was writing a book. They weren't trusting me for that. But they did earn my respect because I just hit everything that moved. And back then you could block below the waist, so I'd come down, I'd just fly downfield. And, it could be a sweep, say in one of the scrimmages or whatever. We were always in full pads. So if it's a sweep to the left and I'm the wide receiver on the right-hand side, I would still take out that cornerback. And that used to piss them off to no end. And, I'd say, hey, man, I don't want to get hurt. And I said, well, look, I'll tell you what, I'll let you know about 5 yards from I'm from you. And I'll yell, and then you can get out of my way. I said, because if you don't get out of my way, I'm going to hit you. I want to make this team. I got nothing against you. I'm the biggest Eagle fan in the world. I said, but I want to make this football team, and I know I can do it. So, I just as the preseason went on and I progressed, and I got more confidence and going against other teams, and I went against the Dolphins and had a big game against the Dolphins, 5 catches and a few knockdown hits and a couple of special teams play. That was the 4th preseason game of that year. And I knew then I was going to make the team. Actually, Coach Ramil did a highlight of me from the game the night before when we were in training camp, and he said, this guy's going to probably wind up making the team, and he shouldn't even be here. But, so step it up was the thing. So I pretty much figured by that point. So I had 2 more preseasons to get through, and I did.
So you had how many years did you play with the Eagles?
Well, Jake, I got three active years, and in my 4th year was on injured reserve. I got injured in the first preseason game in the 4th year against the original Baltimore Colts, the Giant Unitas Baltimore Colts. And so what I did is, you might be able to see this little lump up here. It used to be up there. I played pretty much my whole career with a separated shoulder, and so I had surgery after the 3rd year. And that's when we actually got into the playoffs that 3rd year. We lost to the Atlanta Falcons in the wild card game. But so I got surgery right after the season was over, and then I came back and I I re-separated that shoulder in the game. Guy hit me in the scapula and drove it up, and I was sort of pissed off at him. And so The coach says, "You're out of the game. You got 4 catches. I got everything I need to see." He said, "Nice job, Vinny. Take a break." And I said, "Can I get one for one more play? Just one more." Because I wanted to try to get even with the guy that cheap shotted me and hit me out of bounds. Well, I got him, but I
Mm,
got him with this arm because this one, I usually
yeah.
come in my right side and I came in this way and I
Wow.
dislocated my left. So I had a separated right, a dislocated left. I'm walking around like Frankenstein. And
Wow.
and the trainer says, "Here, take these couple pills." And about a half hour later, he says, "You feeling any pain?" I said, "No." And then he took my arm and he just put his and he said, "Here, bite on this." And I bit on a towel and he took my arm and he put his foot right there in my armpit and he just pulled the arm
Wow.
back in and that was it. That,
Wow.
that was the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I got credit, so I got 4 years credit, and I get the last laugh because I have an NFL
Yeah.
pension, which is too
Yeah.
funny.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, anyone would kill
Yeah.
to be in the NFL for a year. I mean, that's
Yeah.
so cool that
Well,
you got full.
it's funny you say that, Wyatt. I kept saying, "Oh my God, I'm here. This would be great." But now once you're there, you don't
Mhm.
ever want to leave. And so I got the second year, and the beauty of it is, in that second year, I was voted
Mm.
captain of the special teams. So, and there's a little bit of irony there because my son Vinny, with the showboats, the USFL showboats, that he just finished up, he was voted captain of the team. He was voted captain of the offense and special teams. So yeah, it was pretty cool. They were having a lot of fun with that these last couple of weeks,
You,
especially with
you know
Father's
what?
Day.
Oh,
So just going through the NFL and being on special teams, was there any like either personally or just as a team, like any big adversity you faced and you overcame and you learned a lot about yourself?
Yeah, yeah. You know what it was, Wyatt? It was getting over the awe of being where I was.
mm,
Of seeing guys on the other side of the field that they were either hated, if they're the Cowboys, Redskins, Giants, or whatever, or to be in those stadiums and those kinds of stuff. I just had to get over that fact. These guys were human beings just like me. And other than that, I felt as soon as right after I started making those plays, I knew I belonged, and
mm.
we just took it from there. So it was
You
pretty
know what I
cool.
always find intriguing is like what the day to day life of an NFL player is in the travel. So do you want to talk a bit little about what it was like, the day to day life of the NFL back in the '70s, and then your guys' travel and staying in hotels and stuff?
Yeah, well, travel was cool. We always had a
Mm-hmm.
chartered plane. We flew United, and we always stayed in a Marriott. I mean, that was it. So, I could take you.
Mm-hmm.
I'll work you up to game day. Most all games were at 1 o'clock. A couple of the 4 o'clock games. Then there wasn't Thursday night football. There wasn't Saturday night football, and there wasn't Sunday night football. It was just those time slots and based basically on the time zone that you were in. If it was a 4 o'clock game, obviously out there on the West Coast, and you had your St. Louis Cardinals and those kinds of teams, but those games, because they were in Central, would start at noon. Your game is on whatever the game day is, and I'll take you through the week real quickly. So you have your game on a Saturday, I mean on a Sunday, and then on Monday, you're flying in as soon as the game's over. You're flying into your hometown. So in many cases, you wouldn't get in until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. But in Philly, we had this place that was an all night bar that we knew about. Uh, we might get in around on Sunday night. We might be getting in around midnight, and then we would all just go to this place called the Roman Gardens, which was a big hangout. But then Monday would be a shakeout day, and if you were injured, you had to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and get the treatment that had to be done. And then you look at the film, and then you do a little weight work and stretching, and then they would take the special teams out, and we'd start working on special teams for the next game, and then you'd be out of there by 2 or 3 o'clock. Now Dennis Franks and I, God bless Dennis Franks, rest in peace, my man. And Dennis and I used to go to the Children's Hospital and visit the young boys and girls that had leukemia. We had a great relationship there where our charity called the Eagles Fly for Leukemia. And then we do that. And then Monday Night Football, Monday Night Football was just coming out. I was always getting hired because of my popularity and stuff to host Monday Night Football at these bars in suburban Philadelphia, which was pretty cool. And then you'd wind up, we might have 10 or 15 of our teammates would come and just hang out, and everybody would, whoa, the Eagles are there, and it became a pretty good time. Thank God, because Tuesday was their day off. If you were injured, you had to go in and you had to get treatment, but otherwise, Tuesday was your day off. Most of the time, we just played golf. And then Wednesday, and now it's a job. Wednesday, you get in there about 9 o'clock. You have your special teams meetings, whatever it is. You have all your meetings, offense, defense, and they split. You start with a big group, and then you narrow it down to your position. And then you're out on the field around 12 o'clock. They'd have lunch there for you, or 1 o'clock, and you'd practice. With Coach Vermeil's practices were legendary. So we'd be out on the field for a couple of 3 hours, and then then afterwards you'd lift, do whatever, and by 4 o'clock you're out. And then same thing for Thursday, and then Thursday you tighten it up a little bit in terms of what you're going to focus on in your game plan of practice. Friday was more or less red zone day. Saturday was 2-minute drill, and if you had a home game, so Friday was really cool because what Coach Vermeil used to do that nobody else used to do is after we came off the field around 1 o'clock, he'd have a keg of beer waiting for us. And there'd be hoagies and cheesesteaks, Philly style. And we'd have the pool table there set up, the foosball, and all that. And we'd just be hanging out in the locker room for about an hour or 2 hours, before we even took a shower. And so that was our Fridays. And then Saturday was the light workout. Like I say, if it's a home game on Sunday, then you just went home, but you were sequestered. You had to go to a hotel right next to the stadium. And we had to be there by 9 o'clock that night. They'd go through special teams. They'd go over a reel. They'd give us a big buffet. And then game day is on Sunday. If it's an away game, then we would just, as soon as we got done practice around 1 o'clock, we would just roll over to the overseas terminal, and they'd have a charter plane there for us, and we jump on and go to the city that we played in. And that was pretty much a routine. And it was then, in the beginning, it was 14 games, and then it got to be 16 games my third year in. So you treated it that way, and you refined your game plan each day as you're getting closer to the game, where the whole load comes in on Wednesday, and then you focus a little bit more on Thursday, and then Friday, like I said, red zone and special teams and 2-minute drill on Saturday. It's almost like a walkthrough. And then you flew in, and that was it. When you got on the plane, they give you they give you a couple of Cokes or a couple of beers, and I used to always hang next to the guys that were the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and they take their Cokes and give me my 2 beers, so we, it'd be fun. And what we would do, then we get to the city, and if maybe 3, 4, 5 o'clock into the hotel, and we'd all go out as a group, and just hang out a little bit and go to dinner, and then come in for the meetings at 9, and just be prepared to play. Got to go. Let's go.
Nice. So you're going through the NFL. You played you were on the team for 4 years. How'd you get into speaking and then your book and movie? Did someone just approach you to want to write your story, or did you kind of seek out an author or someone to make your movie?
No. I didn't write any books until after the movie came out. I never looked at anything that anybody would want to read about. The movie is the one that really got that going. So since the movie came out, we've got 4 books. And you can find them on VincePapale.com. But with the speaking side, it just was a natural. There were the boys clubs. I used to do a lot of the boys or the youth organizations, and you'd go there, and you'd go to speak for about 15 or 20 minutes and tell your story and try to leave a message. And you'd look out there at the table, and there'd be about 30 or 40 bottles of beer on the tables where the parents were, and kids running all over the place. And then they'd have you sign autographs afterwards. That was pretty much how it was. I went to Coach Vermeil, and I asked him, I said, give me some topics to talk about, and he helped me through that, and that was it. And then after a few years, I did do TV and radio for a few years after that, so that sort of led, it gave me the confidence to get up in front of a group and how to structure a speech and how to, take a long story and make it a short story. And but then I got out of that, got into sales. I got tired of the broadcasting side of things, and I met my wife, Janet, not a Giants fan, by the way, a world-class gymnast. If you look over to my right there, you could see her jersey that she wore for the USA team. And Janet and I met in '92, got married in '93, and then we had a baby really quick, and then the movie that started developing in 2002, and then once the movie came out, I had a guy come up to me from a speakers bureau, Kepler Speakers in Washington, and he said, "Dude," he says, "you're going to make a ton of money." He said, "Everybody's going to want to hear your story," and he told me how to structure it. And he became actually one of the first groups that I started doing speeches for. And back then I was getting 5 figures a speech. I mean, that's whoa. I was getting more of speech than I was my rookie year as a player. And, it just sort of developed. And, I'm still, pandemic hit hard. Some other things hit hard, when the president of the United States decided guys like me and Rudy were inducements. So we lost a little bit on that one. But, it's picking up, and, I'm going out to Colorado. I'm going to be in the Colorado Springs in a couple of weeks. Now, actually this week, and speaking to the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, which would be really cool. I just finished doing a gig with 100 entrepreneurs in Philadelphia. And so I traveled all over the world. I've actually, with the movie, we've shown the movie in the Parliament. I've been knighted. I'm a cavaliere, so, which is pretty cool. And but but now it's all about my family. It's about my kids. We have a real estate business, and Vinny just finished up with USFL. He's chasing his dream. My daughter Gabby, she used to work for the Sixers, and she came down here during the pandemic in Florida. I say here, that's where we live now, Jupiter, Florida. And she liked real estate so much, she teamed up with my wife, and they're a dynamic duo down there. And Vinny's coming back, and he'll be helping with us when he sort of gets settled down from the football thing. So that's what it is. I still speak, and the books, they were just a natural. And, I've got 4 of them out there. And I think that my favorite were the last 2. The one is, Get the Last Laugh. That's the last laugh from Vision of Victory. Denny Franks and I wrote that book. And the one my wife and I it's Be Invincible, a playbook for reaching your full potential. Because Janet was not only a world-class gymnast, she was a world-class coach. And she coached that and started the program at the University of Pennsylvania. So, we have some insights, some stories. We're 2 jocks that were told we never make it, and she made it to the highest level you can make it in gymnastics and amateur sports, toward the Olympics, and me in the NFL. So it's pretty cool. So she's upstairs doing her thing. I'm down here doing my thing, and then I'll be doing a charity event. Ron Jaworski has this big golf tournament this week. So we're going to be I'm going to be with a bunch of my teammates. It's going to be so cool. And, life is good right now. I don't get to Eagles games as much. I used to get to every Eagles game when I was living here in the Philly area, but now that I'm in Jupiter, so I've got another team up there, and it's because of my friend Doug Peterson, who's coaching the Jags. And Doug he was actually our client when he was a player with the Eagles. Janet sold him his first of 8 houses. So
Wow.
we become really good friends with them. And I just got a text from his beautiful wife Jeannie, and we're going to be connecting for the 4th of July weekend. But so the Jags, the Eagles will always be they'll always be in my heart. But the Jags are my new team, and we're right off Interstate 95 in Jupiter, and it's about 200-mile drive north, and right up 95. It's like NASCAR, you just you draft somebody and you just go. So, but I'm still the biggest Eagle fan you could possibly imagine. I mean, I got my Eagles green on right there, so
Oh, yeah.
there it is.
Yeah, I mean, both your teams did pretty good. I mean, the Eagles made the Super Bowl, and then Jags had that crazy comeback against the Chargers.
Yeah, we were there. I was
You
I
were
was
at the
actually
game?
I was in the owner's. I was in his booth.
Nice.
Yeah,
Sweet.
his wife Jeannie and my wife. She's about 9 feet tall. Jeannie. I call her an avatar, I said, it's, my wife, the gymnast, a 5 footer. Anyway, Jeannie's 6 feet. It's so funny. But oh yeah, we were in the box for that one. That was crazy, man. That's it. That was insane. What a great time that was. And if you know him, I mean, I love Doug Peterson because he's so much like Dick Vermeil. He's a man's man. He's a millennial man. And the great thing about Coach Peterson is when we get together, we rarely talk football. We talk about everything else. But we rarely talk football. And he's got his son, who just played, and that's Josh. He just finished up with the Houston Gamblers, and my son Vinny. And it would be really cool, Vinny, if anybody were asked me who would you like Vinny to play with or play for. That's the Jags. I mean, and play for Doug Peterson because I know that Doug's not just a great coach; he's a great teacher, and and he's a team, and he's a player's coach, and he understands the players. And all you got to do is look at the resurgence of what the Jags have done, and what he's done with his quarterback up there.
Sure. Well, thanks, Vince, for coming on our podcast. We really appreciate it. And how can people get in contact with you with speaking? Like, go to your website, right?
Yeah, I appreciate that, Wyatt. Yeah, thank you, Wyatt, and thank you, Jake, and and all that you've been through. And I have this great saying, happy are those who dream dreams and are willing to pay the price to make their dreams come true. And every once in a while in life, you have those nightmares, and we've all had them. Me, cancer survivor, and all those kinds of things. And and I have so much respect for both you, Wyatt, and both you, Jake, and what you've been through and how you battled. You don't make excuses. You just say, okay, here's today. Let's make the best of what today is. And another saying I like saying is win the day. So, but with me, to answer your question, Wyatt, it's Vince, really simple. Vince at vincepapale.com, and there's a bunch of tabs at the top. And in one of those tabs, it'll say, contact Vince, and it's a very interactive form, and it comes right to me. No agent, Janice, my boss, she's the CEO. She's a realtor, so so that's how we do it. And we have the Papale group, which is cool, which is my wife and Gabriella and Vinny, and they're working together in 3 states: Florida, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. And my daughter Gabriella and I, now that the USFL season is over, we're going to pick it back up. We have a podcast called Gabbing with Invincible. So, it's on Spotify, all the places it should be. So keep an eye out on that. And, so I'm pretty busy and, having a great time doing whatever I do. And I try to stay out of everybody's way and make everybody feel good about themselves. And, just show an act of kindness, and just every day you got to be kind to somebody. Our world needs that so badly right now, as we all know.
Yeah.
But that's it, man. I'll tell you, it was when I heard from you, Wyatt, and I heard from you, Jake, and I got that, there was no way I wasn't going to do this. It's going to be great. So now I'm going to go across the river right behind my house and go over and see people I haven't seen for a couple of years, and I'm really looking for a good time. I've got 4 or 5 days. I'm playing golf tomorrow with my high school football team guys. We were undefeated in Interboro High School, and we're all getting together. 12 of us left, of us seniors are left, and we're going to be playing golf tomorrow. So, and it's really cool. And then Ron Jaworski's got his golf outing on Thursday and Friday, and I'm going to be with 15, 20 of my teammates and athletes and stars from all over the country. So it's really exciting.
Nice. Well, thanks again, Vince. We really appreciate it.
Hey, you're welcome. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Jake. Win the day, baby. And, chase those dreams. Don't ever give up on chasing your dream. Thank you so much. A real honor to be here with you guys today.